Welcome to Kenny's Kantina, eating in style on the road. Thanks for tuning in. Summer's winding down and it's time for me to teach another semester. I do enjoy teaching and welcoming the freshman class to campus. In my first class, I introduced my students to my nomadic lifestyle in Kenny's Kantina. They were pretty fascinating. Some of the students are now referring to my class as going to Kenny's Kantina. I know my semester is going to be great, and I hope your fall will be as well. The inspiration for today's show comes from social media. In my viewing of Facebook cooking groups and Instagram, I kept seeing Birria Tacos and the rave reviews on them. I had actually never heard of them. You know me, I started doing some research, and here's what I found out. Birria Tacos originate in Jalisco, Mexico. It all started with the introduction of goats by the conquistadors who invaded Mexico back in the 1500s. The poor people, out of hunger, began to look at the goats as a source of meat. To remove the gamey flavor of the meat, they stewed the meat with local chilies and spices. Today, birria is made with beef, lamb, pork, or chicken. Birria tacos can be found at street vendors, food trucks, local mom and pop Mexican restaurants, and it's spread across the U.S. thanks to the internet craze. Key to making a good birria is slow-cooked, tender meat. The sauce gives the tacos a great flavor, and then you take the taco and dip it in the side of the sauce. It is so good. My birria is slightly different than most recipes you find on the internet in that I use leftover slow-cooked shredded beef from Season 2, Episode 8 of my Shredded Beef Taco Party. I'm getting the flavor and tenderness of the slow-cooked meat, but achieving much more versatility and longevity of the leftover birria sauce because the meat isn't in it, so it stays fresher longer. The sauce is really easy to make, and the flavors are incredible. I first attempted this dish, and I gave a dozen samples out around the RV park. The look on my tasters' faces when they bit into these morsels. The immediate reaction was, I need this recipe. So by popular demand and under threat, let's join the Birria Taco craze. This street taco recipe is a fabulously tasty dish. It's a great smoky blend of peppers that's fun to eat and very rich in flavor. So if you don't have a taco truck near you, not to worry, just whip up some of my Birria Tacos. And the leftover sauce can highlight several other dishes. Prep time on this dish is about 15 minutes. Cooking time, 45 minutes. And it takes about 20 minutes to make up the tacos. What I'm doing today serves 8 to 10 people. And I can store the sauce in the refrigerator for 2 weeks and in the freezer for up to 6 months. So the ingredients that you need is 5 ancho chilies, 7 guajillo chilies, a large onion, 12 small or 6 large Roma or plum tomatoes, a carrot, a bulb of garlic, a can of chipotle peppers, a can of green chilies, 3 bay leaves, 2 tablespoons of oregano, a tablespoon of smoked paprika, a tablespoon of cumin, a teaspoon of coarse black pepper, a teaspoon of salt, a quarter cup of vegetable oil, a quarter cup of vinegar, 8 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of better than bouillon roasted beef base, 1 pound of shredded beef from Season 2, Episode 8, a package of Oaxaca cheese, and 16 to 20 corn tortillas. And then for garnishing, we'll use diced onions, diced cilantro, and lime wedges. So first off, I'm going to take my ancho peppers, and I'm going to cut the ends off of those, and so I can pull the stems off and shake out the seeds. Removing the seeds will cut down on some of the spicy hotness of the birria sauce. So I've got the anchos. Now let's do the guajillo. You see me use these dehydrated peppers before in my Texas chili episode, Season 2, Episode 3. These gems really add a lot of flavor to Mexican dishes. Got all those peppers done. Okay, now I'm going to put the peppers into a stock pot. And one of the things I like about this dish is you just throw everything in one pot and light the burner. Next, I'm going to take an onion, and I'm going to cut this in half and then into cubes. We'll take that and add it to the pot. And now I'm going to take the tomatoes whole and just throw those in the pot. Today I'm using a small Roma or plum tomatoes that came out of a friend of mine's garden. In the store, they're usually bigger than these, so you'll need fewer tomatoes, but I could not resist using garden fresh tomatoes. Next, we're going to take a carrot, and I'm going to cut the ends off of this, and then I'm going to cut it into about 1-inch pieces and throw that into the pot. And I've started throwing carrots in more and more stew dishes like this and even pasta sauce. The sugars in the carrots help to counteract the acidity of the tomatoes and makes kind of a smoother taste to the sauce. Next, we're going to use a bulb of garlic. I'm going to use a whole bulb on this. So let me break it into pieces. I'm using fresh garlic in this recipe to really add a bright flavor to the sauce. And I'm taking the knife and pushing down flat, kind of squishing the garlic. That makes it easier to get the peel off. Ooh, I love the smell of garlic. Let's add that to the pot then. Next, I'm going to take a can of chipotle peppers, pour this in on top. Now, the chipotle peppers add a smokiness to the sauce, giving it a great ranchero nuance. Step is the green chilies, and I use a mild version of the green chilies since I'm looking for the sweetness of the chili and not a spicy heat. Pick up and throw in the bay leaves. That's an easy ingredient. All right, now we're ready to add some of the dry ingredients. So let me get out my oregano. Now some smoked paprika, my cumin, which all my Mexican dishes have cumin in it. Got that. Now some pepper. Now my salt. All right, we're getting close now. Next, I'm going to add the vegetable oil. Let me pour this out. And vinegar. And I'm just using a regular white vinegar for this. Right, I love the look of all the ingredients in the pot. It's so colorful. Our last step here, we're going to add water to the pot. Fill up that container. Put that in. So now let's move the pot over to the stove. We're going to cover that, bring it to the boil. This will take about 10 minutes, so we'll check back in a minute. It's been about 10 minutes. I'm starting to get a nice boil on that. So now what I'm going to do is add the Better Than Bouillon base, and I'm going to stir that well. The Better Than Bouillon base blends much better when the sauce is boiling. That's why I bring it to a boil first. And the folks at Better Than Bouillon sent me a few of their products a while back for me to try. I used their chicken base in my gumbo show, season 1, episode 9, and it added a lot of flavor. Since I'm cooking the birria sauce separately from the meat, you really need to add some beef flavor to the sauce. So Better Than Bouillon fits the bill for adding a lot of flavor. Got that all stirred in, and now I'm going to lower this, and I'm going to set the timer for 30 minutes. All right, and we'll let that go. Be back in a little bit. Ooh, it's smelling so good. It's been about 30 minutes. My timer's about to go off here. All right, there's the timer. All right, where's my button? There we go. So while that was simmering, I was stirring it occasionally. I've turned off the heat. Now the next step is I'm going to get out another stock pot and put my strainer on top. And I'm going to take this, pour it through the strainer. I'm going to catch all that good broth. Now be careful when you do this. There's a lot of steam comes up. Oh gosh, it smells so good. All right, next, time for using the food processor. And let me get the lid off this. Out of my strainer, I'm going to spoon into my food processor. And this is actually going to take a couple times. We'll put it up halfway. Let me get this on. You don't want to overfill because it will overflow, and then you got a mess to clean up. There we go. All right, I'm going to hit the puree and let this puree. All right, that should be good. Now I'm going to take this into my original pot and let me dump it in there, pour it out. Ooh, that looks so good. All right, let me put that over there. Let's fill up the veggies in the food processor. And one of the things this simmering it for 30 minutes, it allows all those peppers to rehydrate and you get a really good meaty flavor from the peppers. So let's puree again. And let's dump it back in the pot. Now all that broth that we caught when we strained it, we're going to pour that back in. And let me put this back on the stove. I'm going to just let this simmer uncovered, stir that occasionally. Now I had taken some of the leftover shredded beef out of the fridge and let it get to room temperature. Now what I'm going to do is chop the shredded beef into smaller pieces. And the reason I do this into the smaller pieces is when you bite into a taco, you don't want half the taco coming out with you with the longer pieces. Chopping the shredded beef actually works good. Now I'm going to place this chopped beef into a saucepan, get out my ladle, and I'm going to ladle some of this sauce over the meat until the meat's all covered and stir that real well. And then I'm going to let this simmer for 15 minutes, and I'm going to stir it periodically. And what this will do is it'll give the great flavor of that birria sauce will get into the meat, and it also will heat the meat up. So while that's simmering, the next I'm going to do is shred the Oaxaca cheese. And Oaxacan cheese comes in a monkey fist, and it's similar to a mozzarella. It melts quickly, and it has a mild flavor. I'm going to shred some of this. Just get a nice pile of it. And now I'm going to take some onion, work on for the garnish, and I'm going to dice this up into fairly fine pieces. And then I'm going to take some fresh cilantro, cut some of that off, and chop that. And then let me take a lime and make that into wedges. So we've got our cheese all set. We've got our garnishes ready to go, and meat looks ready. So now it's time for taco building. What I do for this is I take out a large skillet, start heating that, and we'll take our corn tortillas. You want a good quality corn tortilla that stays together. I've gotten some that are some of the cheaper ones, and they just kind of fall apart when you start messing with them, so you don't want that. You want them fairly solid. Take a tortilla, dip it in one side, dip it into the sauce, flip it over, get some more sauce on that tortilla. I'm going to make sure that that tortilla is well covered. And let me put that into the pan. Grab another tortilla, and I'm going to do the same thing and dip it. And the dipping the tortilla in the sauce kind of softens the tortilla a little bit and gets the flavor of the sauce throughout the taco. I do the same thing when I make enchiladas. So that's in the pan. And I'm going to let those hang there for about a minute. Kind of take my spatula and make sure they're not sticking. What I'm doing is browning the tortilla. Let me flip these. Okay. So it can be a little tricky, but you can get it there. And now I'm going to take the shredded cheese. I'm going to get a little bit and spread it around on the tortilla. Not too heavy, but just that it's covered. Get some tongs here, and let me pull out a dab of meat. I'm going to spread that out on each of those. All right, we're going to let the cheese melt. And it doesn't take long. This cheese, that's what's really great about it. It melts really quick. And it's going to give us a good cheesy, meaty flavor in this. So, okay, the cheese is melted now. I'm going to take the spatula and flip the tortilla over, kind of press it down. So I've kind of laid it over on top of each other. Let me flip these all the way over and kind of press down and do the same thing on the other sides. And after about 30 seconds, remove the tacos from the pan and place them on a serving tray. I'm making quite a few today, so I'm going to repeat the process until I've got all the tacos made. So I'll be back to you in a couple minutes. I've got my tacos made, and one thing to note, your tacos won't be crispy and hard like you think about of a crispy taco. They will still be soft, but they're going to be toasted. Now, to eat this, what you want to do is you want to squeeze lime on the taco, and then add some onion and cilantro, and then you dip the taco in the birria sauce, and you take a bite. You're going to love this taco. So let me fix me one. And the lime, the onion, the cilantro. All right, so let's dip this in the sauce first and take a bite. What a complex flavor. You taste the smokiness of the chilies. There's a little spicy bite to the tacos. It's not bad. It's very rich and loaded with flavor. Gosh, these are good. So, anyway, I'm distracted by eating here. Okay, so you and your dinner guests are going to love this. Have plenty of napkins ready, though. You're going to need them. It is a little messy. And what a great dish for leftover shredded beef. Some serving recommendations on this. Serve as Birria Tacos like we did here, garnish with the onion and cilantro and lime, along with individual dishes of Birria sauce so that you can dip your taco in the sauce. They taste really great. Now, a couple of great side dishes to go with your Birria Tacos. There's Mexican street corn and refried beans. So stay tuned for future episodes on each of these simple, great tasting side dishes. As you might have noticed in my previous episodes, I'm pretty versatile in my use of leftovers. This stems from me cooking lots of food and living alone. Sure, I give a lot of food out to my tasters, but I also have a lot of leftovers. Since I get tired of eating the same thing over and over, I get creative in finding ways to use the leftovers. Birria sauce lends itself well to several variations. So the Birria sauce is great for making chili con queso. Just melt a 1 pound block of Velveeta cheese, add a cup of heavy cream, and when that cheese is melted and well blended with the cream, just add a ladle or a cup of the Birria sauce and stir. It makes a fantastic dip and is great as an appetizer. And you can also use the Birria sauce just by itself as a salsa with chips. Makes a nice ranchero salsa. One of the things I like to do is use the Birria sauce to make huevos rancheros for breakfast. Take the eggs and pour that sauce over the top. It's wonderful. And another thing that I started using, I found out, is this Birria sauce is perfect as an enchilada sauce for cheese enchiladas. So that's really good too. And if you're into fusion, try Birria ramen. Just add some leftover Birria sauce into some cooked ramen noodles, and it makes a really tasty soup. I made this, and it was surprisingly good. I squeezed some lime onto it and topped it with cilantro, and boy, what a great meal. So some tips. When prepared, the tacos are semi-soft. They're not like a crispy shell, so don't think they're going to get hard on you. The Oaxaca cheese is a quick melting cheese similar to mozzarella. So you can substitute mozzarella if you can't find the Oaxacan cheese. You could also use a jack cheese or a Mexican blend. It's just going to take a little longer for it to melt than the Oaxacan cheese. Now, if you're preparing for fewer people, you can cut down on the amount of meat that you prepare. But the sauce recipe, I would keep the same. It freezes well. And like I said, it's great in a lot of other dishes. And if you do have leftover meat and sauce and want to have Birria tacos again, don't pre-make the tacos. Use fresh tortillas each time. Leftover prepared tacos will get soggy after sitting in the refrigerator. So enjoy your Birria tacos. I know you're going to love them. Now it's mail time. I'm amazed by the geographical diversity of my viewers. To highlight this, all of today's questions are from international viewers. So thanks for watching from around the globe. Today's questions relate to my chimichurri sauce. The episode was a big hit and generated several comments. Let's start out north of the border in Canada. Frank from Ontario, Canada asks, why is it called chimichurri sauce? Hey, Frank, thanks for your question. According to the website, The Real Argentina, one version is that the name comes from the Basque region of Spain, and the name translated means a mixture of several things in no particular order. This makes sense since it really doesn't matter which ingredients are put in when. The other version of the name, according to legend, is that there was an Irishman or Englishman in Argentina in the 19th century by the name of Jimmy Curry. The locals had a hard time saying his name and just called him Chimichurri. Both are fun reasons, Frank, so pick the one you prefer, and thanks for watching. Our next question is from Going Crazy Over Cooking in Montreal, Canada. Now, I try to stay out of family feud, so I'm going to try to navigate some difficult terrain here. So Going Crazy says, my husband and I both like to cook, but we never get along with each other's recipes. He thinks he knows everything, and for the most part, his dishes are outstanding. Please don't tell him I said that. So just to mess with him, I decided to use your recipe to the T, step by step and not varying anything. By the way, it was great. Both sat down together and tried it, enjoyed it, and even commented on how good it was. But my mistake, I asked Meathead what he thought about the ingredients. And he said that chopped up garlic and fresh herbs is a real way to go. There's essentially no risk because oxygen could not get into the components if you use jarred items, like minced garlic in a jar of parsley or packaged tarragon. His exact words were that if oxygenations of components are so important to a great dish, that he felt that without that element in this dish, it would fall short. Once again, he has to put his 2 cents worth of intellect. I need your help. Do you have a clue as to what he's talking about? Thanks for the story, Going Crazy, and I'm glad y'all enjoyed my chimichurri. I believe what he's talking about is that when foods are jarred or processed, they lose their oxygen value. There's a lot of mention on the internet that athletes eat fresh vegetables instead of processed because it helps to add oxygen to their blood system. This is due to the oxygen still present in the fresh foods. In some of my dishes, I do use jarred garlic and the like. However, in this dish, I use only fresh. My reasoning for this is that there's no cooking in my chimichurri and I'm going for the freshest taste possible. The fresh garlic and herbs really pop with flavor. It enhances the dish. So I hope I've somewhat answered your question, Going Crazy. Thanks for the challenge, and I hope my answer doesn't cause any problems on the home front. The next set of questions come from Spain and Brazil. They both have to do with the issue of stems from the parsley. Jackie from Spain wants to know, I hope this is not a trick question, but I've made chimichurri sauce several times at home and really love it. I've been de-stemming the parsley before throwing it in the food processor, but I'm wondering if that's really necessary. What do other people do? Will the stems cause the sauce to be too watery or fibrous? Similarly, Candace from Brazil asks, since I use the food processor, I'm thinking the stems would just blend into the sauce with a few extra pulses, or maybe put the bottom half of the bunch in the processor first and then give them a couple seconds head start. Any suggestions? Well, Candace and Jackie, thanks for your important questions. To de-stem or not to de-stem? I like to de-stem the bigger, main, thick branches. For me, this is a texture issue along with the taste issue. Flavor of the parsley is found in the leaves, not in the stems, and I find the stems to be somewhat bitter. So the little stems next to the leaves are fine, but the larger ones tend to not break down as quick and evenly when using the food processor. So you can still get large pieces of stem in the chimichurri. So de-stem the big stems. Thanks, Candace and Jackie, for your insightful questions. Now we're going to Russia with Natasha. And she states, we live next door to an executive chef. He taught me to make his version of what you made. I think it's roughly your recipe, plus it's got cilantro and a few green olives, and I use it on everything too. It is so good. On nights when he's home, he grills sausage and loads up rolls. He usually brings me one over. I'm thinking he likes the yummy noises I make when I eat it. I have to have some now. I wish I bought more parsley today. He's away from the week, and I wonder if he's got any in his fridge. Well, Natasha, thanks for chiming in from Russia. I'm glad you see the versatility of chimichurri, and the cilantro and green olives sounds interesting as well. But please don't get arrested breaking into your neighbor's house when he's gone. You don't want to ruin your source for good food. Thanks for watching, Natasha. And finally, from Argentina, Julieta states, an Argentine friend of mine who worked for a while in a restaurant in Mar del Plata swears that the proper parsley to use is the curly and not the flat, and would only buy that one. No food processor, chopped by hand, lots of garlic. I've never equaled her vision and go back and forth from curly to flat. Do you have a thought on this? Julieta, thanks for your question. I like the bright, crisp flavor of curly parsley. It adds a zing to the chimichurri. And when I first started making chimichurri, I did chop everything by hand. It takes a while, and my hand would get tired. I found that using the processor really doesn't change the flavor, and you can process it less or more depending on your preferred coarseness. Thanks, Julieta, for watching. Thanks for your question. Thanks for all the great questions from around the globe on this international question and answer session. For each episode, I received numerous questions, and I can't get to them all. Sorry if I didn't get to yours. Moving forward, if you want to move to the top of the question list, then go to my website, kennyscantina.com, and submit your question or comment there. Or you can send me an email directly at kennyscantina@gmail.com. I'll be drawing on those questions first, and while you're on the website, you can look back at all my previous shows and recipes. Maybe you'll find something to cook for dinner. I've been making quite a bit of Latino food the past few episodes, so next time we're going to switch gears and try some Italian food. I'll be cooking up some of my marinara sauce. This is a wonderful tasting sauce that can also be very versatile. I even use my leftover shredded beef to change up the leftovers some. This is also a dish for my vegan and vegetarian viewers. You're going to love my marinara, so tune in again. Kenny's Cantina wouldn't be possible without y'all, so thanks for watching and cooking with me. I also want to thank the folks at Better Than Bouillon for sending me some of their bases to try. Big shout out to Roadhogs Media Network and IBC Productions for making my show available across the globe. If you'd like to sponsor a future show, send me an email at kennyscantina@gmail.com or contact the studio. And a final thanks to my initial Birria Taco tasters around the RV park. Josh and Jen, Al and Hope, Layla and Jimmy, Stephen and Christine, Rick and Pat, Heather and Jacob, and Bill, Jason, and Dwayne. The recipe and episode are up, so please, no more threats. So until next time, see y'all on the road.